thank you very much. I'm with Grant Shapps at the LAA Rally. How are you doing?
Very good. It's great to be back. It's great to have the rally back again.
Yeah, and you flew in?
I did, yeah.
Excellent. And is that Saratoga you fly?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, we'll probably come back to that in a little bit. I remember listening to you at various aviation events over the years, and one of the things that you've always talked about is making the UK the best place in the world for general aviation. So I just wondered if you could give us a kind of like school report. What have you done?
It's work in progress. Look,
it should always be work in progress.
That's really true. I mean, look, I think that it's one of these things you have to work on all the time because we have some unique. There's a lot of unique things about the United Kingdom when it comes to aviation. One of the most obvious is, essentially we are a relatively small landmass with a very rich aviation history. I mean, look, here we are at Sywell with all its own history, but constricted space, and there's always a need for land for different purposes, whether it's industry or housing or what have you. And I just always think we have to get that balance right so that we can bring the next generations through into aviation. You inspire them through. I see, looking around here, some of the kids walking around, what have you, looking up and seeing a plane, perhaps really noticing one for the first time, realizing it's more accessible to them. And so it's doing lots and lots of different things. I saw the cover of Flyer magazine with those grobs on it this month. That was worked through the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Aviation when we discovered they lacked paperwork and there were all sorts of problems that have been carried on through with DFT to get those back in the air for airability and others to fly them to bring new generations through. So how's it going? There's a long way to go. And we have to keep on it all the time. But I think we've got some benefits. We can take some of the advantages of some additional freedoms, Brexit dividends, if you like, if we play our cards right, to kind of get that ingenuity back into aviation at the grassroots.
Okay, so I guess the second kind of question I've got is probably a little bit more specific. It seems to me we obviously need new pilots, but the one thing we need is we need more airfields and we need less controlled airspace. And at the moment, the trend appears to be to have fewer airfields and more controlled airspace. So how can we fix that? How can we work that? And the whole drone thing overlaying it adds a layer of complexity where we really want to. No one's going to deny drones, but we need to integrate drones rather than segregate drones.
Well, there's no doubt at all. There's a lot of competition, both for airspace, but also for airfields, for land as well as air. So we've got competition in both places. And what we need to do is use it more intelligently. If we were having this conversation, when I learned to fly in '95, there was no electronic conspicuity, was it?
Yeah.
There was no electronic conspicuity. It was difficult to fit traffic in. It certainly, even where controls existed, required some very, very large systems to prevent aircraft from knocking into each other. All of that now available for a few £100. And one of the things the government's been doing is to promote electronic conspicuity with this really quite large fund, which has got thousands of kits into people's hands, so that aircraft such as the ones here today, these smaller aircrafts, will be by and large probably now flying in with some ability to see each other. That use of airspace, therefore, can be more efficient. And, I think clearly we need to be able to integrate the drones. We don't want to be in a position where there's just endless airspace, which is Class D, Class A. And we've done a number of different things with DFT and CAA to try to address the balance sensibly. I mean, I don't think anyone doubts there should be some Class D around an airport.
Absolutely.
But actually, does it need to be the size of, Gatwick in order to get traffic in safely? Probably not. So we've set up a number of different things. There's a new charity that's been set up to help to ensure that airspace is being debated and created in a way which benefits all users of airspace, in particular, and including general aviation. So and that's one example in the air. And on the ground, there's a lot of competition for the use of land. My argument is, and I've been a housing minister, you can build a home literally clinging to a side of a mountain, a hill. You can only build airfields on flat land by definition. They're all built by the taxpayer, nearly all of them in the First and mostly Second World War. And so there is a public duty or responsibility to make sure that we have a sustainable network of airfields. And it is getting that public policy right to make sure that the airfields are there not just for the young generations coming up, but also so that the new technologies, the sort of hydrogen, I saw you having a conversation about this in your last night's stream, I noticed. Hydrogen, electric, some of the new technologies, they're all going to end up being created through these types of airfields, and it's very important we make sure we sustain them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the problem is once an airfield goes, it's gone. There are more airfields going than there are airfields cropping up.
Yeah, and I think, do you know, by the way, the last CAA licensed airfield in this country? Pop quiz question. Anyone
Sheffield?
Here? Derby.
Derby.
And it's probably close on 30 years ago now. 29 years ago, and they're the last one who got a license. So you're right. Having said that, there are a lot of smaller airfields springing up. What we need to do is make sure that it's possible to get licensed, make sure that through things like technology and aircraft becoming quieter, for example, they create less disturbance overall, and so people are more prepared to see it. And also have mixed use. So, Sywell's a great example. They have a lot of conferencing facilities, a hotel here. They have things which sustain an ecosystem around aviation. I think that's very important.
Okay. Last question of the three. The DFT has got applied some fairly non-pragmatic solutions to the whole FAA certificate for flying NREG, and that appears to be coming to an end in December. In order to become the best place in the world for general aviation, we could have gone back to the old CA system, and there's probably a whole host of other things we could have done that, to my mind, would have been more progressive, more positive, more practical. But so why did we choose the...
Well, so I think, first of all, obviously the CAA responsible for licensing people who've been, taken their licenses in the UK under their auspices. But I do accept that there may be times where we should be going further and faster, and I do want to see us use the flexibility that we've got outside EASA to sort of say, well, EASA did this, we can do more. I'm going to give you a couple of examples which go a bit beyond your question, but we've had self-certification medicals, which a lot of people in the LAA world would be using. It's something that EASA doesn't have. They looked like they were going to go there. They couldn't get agreement between all of their membership. They haven't got it. We do in the United Kingdom. It's a good example. Class D and CIRA. So, there's this issue of the EASA rules needing us to apply this approach, which meant that under certain circumstances, and Class D, I won't go into the detail, we would have to fit in with ICAO rules. Again, we've managed to opt out of that. Things like the IMC, very good, very practical qualifications. I use the IMC, uniquely British. There are things that we can do like that. To take you up on your challenge, though, because I was reading, I think it must have been my August or September edition of Flyer magazine, and I've actually asked my guys to invite you in so we can talk about deregulation and where else it should go. Anyone who's got any ideas, speak to the Flyer guys, speak to the editors.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for that. I mean, I take, the PMD thing is fantastic. The SSDR thing is fantastic. The changes we've made to Sarah to make life more practical around places like Red Hill, which was kind of caught because it's under sort of Crabbe's Guard D, is really good news. And so it just seems to me there was a really simple solution for the whole NREG thing that could have been taken, that all of people would have gone, oh, that's very forward thinking and open minded, and they've done a really good job there, and there's no safety analysis behind it. But it was kind of, I wonder why that thing sort of stuck up a little bit.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. It may be to do with legislative time available to put solutions in. Just to clarify for anyone watching, though, it's not that I think I'm right in saying it's not that you can't be on an NREG if you have a CAA license and fly in the UK. It's if you're on an FAA license, it's that issue.
So basically, the deal is if you have an FAA license at the moment until the 21st of December this year, you can fly an NREG aircraft in the UK on an FAA license. After the 21st of December, you'll need a UK CA issued license. The process for getting, for example, an American instrument rating based on your UK instrument rating is you take a 75 question test, and that's it. The process for getting a UK instrument rating off the back of an FAA instrument rating is far more expensive, far harder and far more complicated. If the two had been said, you know what, we're just going to match what the FAA do, we'll just have it reciprocal.
Yeah.
Then everyone would go, oh, that's great, amazing.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, I look forward to when we have a chat about this. But also, one other good piece of news I don't think has been covered in Flyer or elsewhere yet. We've set up a National Aviation Association, which is essentially a Five Eyes organisation. at the moment. So that's America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. And now that we're out of EASA, along with those other non-EASA countries, we're going to work on things which are of mutual benefit, which might be things like license recognition, technical standards, and the like. The UK is in the chair of that, so we're the sort of president of it for its first couple of years, and I think I've just ruined a press release that will be going out soon. But anyway, you heard it first.
I heard it first.
It's called the NAA, the National Aviation Association.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I look forward to chatting with you further about things that I could maybe think about, and you know, we like to think that we just, you know, we're not overly critical, but we like to point out where we think that maybe people could have done a little bit differently.
Yeah, no, and look, I think that quite rightly, things like licenses being converted over and some of the backlogs and what have you, quite rightly these things should be challenged. And as I say, not because I was coming here today, but because I was reading your last month's edition, I had sent a message to my office at DFT and asked them to invite you in so you can challenge on some of these things, along with a couple of your colleagues, to see what else we should be doing.
I look forward to that. Is that like a meeting without tea and coffee?
No, we'll even have coffee. yeah. And we can even meet in person these days, which is thank goodness.
Okay, fantastic. I look forward to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Have a good day.
Thank you.